How's it going, everybody, and welcome to Fictional Critics. My name is Jeremiah.
I'm Luke.
And today we're just going to be talking about some of our favorite directors.
A little bit more of an open format discussion today. Kind of like, does the source material matter? We're just going to riff on favorite directors. And if you guys hear something that you disagree with as far as the director, you can mention below if you like somebody over somebody else.
Disagree with who our favorites are.
I mean, that's a fair point. It's very subjective. But if you guys have one, feel free to join the discussion. With that, we're just going to jump right into it.
Yeah,
So I'll let Jeremiah take it
a
first.
little bit of difficulty at first trying to come up because we gave ourselves 5. Like, okay, let's just pick 5 directors each we want to talk about. Just kind of some of our favorite, working or from the past, either way.
Yeah.
And it was kind of difficult at first to find directors that I have seen all the movies in their catalog. There's not a single director that I have seen every movie they've ever made.
Yeah.
So, but that being said, there are still a few that I will go out to a theater and see a movie just because it's them. And I imagine we probably have some of the same.
Yeah, there's going to be some overlap
We'll
for sure.
start with an obvious one, Quentin Tarantino.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Quentin Tarantino, one of my favorites. I've not seen everything he's directed. I've only not seen Jackie Brown.
And the only film from his catalog I have not seen is Reservoir Dogs.
Okay.
That's the only one. I think that was his first one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that's the one I just haven't seen. I know all of the iconic scenes from it. I've never seen it. Pulp Fiction, I've seen it probably 7 times. The Kill Bill, Volume 1 and 2 are amazing. Jackie Brown was really good.
Yeah, that's the only one that I haven't
Once
seen.
Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Time in Hollywood.
Super good. The Hateful Eight. Oh, one of the best westerns ever made. It's just really good. I love it. And then
Disagree
Django
on that.
Unchained.
It was good, but
Django Unchained is slightly, I think, a more action-packed western. And
I prefer Django over Hateful Eight.
And Inglourious Bastards is just so good.
Bastards is my favorite.
That is such a good movie.
That is my favorite of his.
And I can't remember his name. I'm blanking now, but
Christoph Waltz.
Yes, Christoph Waltz. Yes, it's just the fact that he knew who I was talking about without me even having to say anything is proof
like if
of
you've
concept.
seen the movies, you know.
Like Christoph Waltz he's the standout of Inglourious Bastards and Django Unchained. Like Jamie Foxx is great.
Leo
But
is the standout of Django.
Really, you think Leo?
I think Leo. Christoph is good.
I mean,
great.
he plays a great
great.
racist Southern slave owner.
Yeah, I think his performance stands out above everybody else. Maybe it's just because the character he's playing and he does it very well because he's Leonardo DiCaprio.
He definitely did. He definitely nailed that Colonel Sanders late 19th century.
No, because you have the other guy that actually looks like Colonel Sanders in the film.
But Leo has the voice and the rotted teeth,
sure.
and he nailed it. It's true. But he's also Leonardo DiCaprio, so
yeah,
he's a great actor.
Yeah, and at this point, Christoph Waltz is Christoph Waltz. So it's just like, I mean,
yeah,
they're all great.
It's true. It's true. But
Jamie Foxx is great, and Samuel Jackson, and
What's
Walton Goggins.
What is
they're all fantastic. And
what film is he doing next? Is he working on one right now? Quentin Tarantino. I feel like I heard rumblings of something that he's coming
I don't know
soon.
what he's working on right now. I could look it up, but I'm not going to.
I don't remember.
I don't know what he's working on. He's working on something because he's working on his 10th film, correct? He's made 9?
Yeah. And I know COVID put everybody's plans on halt. Like, there was a huge disruption of the film industry in general.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I know he's never not working on something. So he is working on his 10th film,
It's
which
like
is
James
supposed
Cameron.
to be his last.
He's like writing a language.
Like
for
he has one more movie
people.
to make.
And then that's it, and then he's done.
That's what he said.
We'll see if that's true.
And he made it clear. Like, I watched a couple interviews with him that he's done, and he's made it clear like that doesn't mean he's stepping away from filmmaking.
He'll just make like studio films
because he's already written movies that he hasn't directed as well. Like, he has writing credits abundant with. He's done a lot with Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah, he worked on Sin City, didn't he? For adapting Frank. What's his Frank
Miller?
Frank Miller. Thank you. Different guy, Frank.
Yeah. So like the way he looks at it is he himself, like, written, directed by him. He has made 9 because volumes 1 and 2 of Kill Bill are one movie.
Yeah, that's fair.
He has technically 10 theatrically released films, but volume 1 and 2 are one. So he's working on his 10th one right now. What that will be, I don't know. But afterwards, he's said as well that he wants to maybe direct a play or write a play and do stage stuff. And
I think there was even
do more inside the entertainment industry.
Yeah,
on top of
other than just.
So he will continue to write and produce and maybe direct some not theatrical, but theater productions, is what he has kind of talked about messing
Yeah.
around with. So he's certainly not going to be done, but I hope he continues to make more movies in general. Though.
So do I. I've always loved his directing.
Yeah.
I love his guest appearances in his movies. He always has great lines.
He's got to be there. He's always there. Every
Just-
single one.
Yeah, just like I forget his name now. I can't believe it. He's in most of his own movies too. From The Village.
M. Night Shyamalan.
Yep. M. Night.
Shyamalan?
Yep.
Shyamalan?
Something.
How do you say his name?
Yeah, I can't remember. I have no idea.
I've heard people say it different ways. I don't know how to do it.
Shyamalan. I have no idea.
I grew up saying Shyamalan because he has that Y
Yeah.
in it, but then I've heard so many other people say Shyamalan.
And I've always...
maybe just because it's easier, or maybe they're right. I don't know.
It's just for the
But
sake
M.
of...
Night, M.
yeah,
Night.
M. Night. Just for the sake of ease of just getting to the point. He's in a lot of his own... He's in a lot of his own stuff, too. And stepping into one of my favorite directors...
Go for it.
He's one of them.
Really?
Yeah, M. Night, for sure. With the exception of one film.
Lady in the Water.
Actually, no.
Happening.
No, not that one either.
Science.
Avatar. Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Okay, that's fair.
With
But
the
I don't
exception
consider
of that movie.
I don't consider that. That's fair. Okay. I have a hard time considering that an M. Night movie because it's so. It's a studio film, which M.
Right.
Night doesn't do.
I don't think it was necessarily his fault. I think he was giving his marching orders from the studio, and he decided to put his spin on it, which there's definitely an M. Night feel to the movie.
But
in
no,
some ways.
a lot of the changes he made though were him.
Oh, well, that's just awful then. that's
From
unfortunate.
what I understand, like some from the studio, sure, but also like it's his take on something as well. So.
Yeah, and I think it's probably just because they got somebody who does thrillers to do a movie about anime, martial arts, superhero magic stuff. And it didn't... I don't think it worked because I don't think they got the right director for it, but it's not because M. Night is a lousy director. I've seen almost all of the movies that I could think of offhand,
I didn't even think
that he's made.
Of M. Night as one of my favorite directors, and he might not make the list of directors that I would go out to see their latest film.
And see, I
but
went to
he
go see
also
Old.
would because I've gone out and seen some of his
Right,
films.
just because it was an M. Night movie. Like I went
And
and
I've
saw,
also gone and seen
Mr.
not
Glass.
seen some films because they were M. Night movies.
Yeah, like I went and saw Mr. Glass specifically because it was an M. Night movie, and before that it was
See, I did not.
Split.
I didn't watch Glass because I wasn't interested. I enjoyed Split. I liked the first one.
Unbreakable.
Unbreakable. I just didn't care by the time Glass came around, and I didn't go see Old because it looked stupid, and I heard that it was.
And a lot of people said that about Old. I watched it. I liked it. It was good.
But
it was a little slow, and it was a little predictable, but it hit the beats of an M. Night movie, and it was enjoyable. And I think just on average, it's one of his underperforming films, for sure. Old was not nearly the kind of...
like, it's going to be hard for him to recreate what he did
with Village or
Signs.
with Signs. With, that's just...
Yeah, like
I don't think you can do that
Signs,
again.
The Village, and... What's the third one? What's the other one? I can't think of the name of it.
The one with... shoot.
You know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah, with Bruce Willis and young...
Sixth Sense.
Sixth Sense, thank you.
Sixth Sense, mainly. Like, Sixth Sense was his big one, and then a lot of people think he's, like, tapered off from there. Like, everything's gotten progressively worse. I don't know if I agree with that. The Village might be my favorite of his, actually.
Between Bryce Dallas Howard,
Adrian
Joaquin
Brody.
Phoenix, and Adrian Brody, that is one
I've
of...
heard a lot of... Well,
I love that one. Of all of them, I think that's my favorite M. Night movie.
same. I
Just
think
for
I
sure.
enjoyed that one the most.
With Signs being a close second.
But most of his stuff is really good.
Yeah.
Aside from, like, maybe the majority of what he's done in the last 8 years.
Yeah. And I wonder, and I've always wondered this, because Signs is easily my second favorite M. Night movie because I'm a huge fan of...
Joaquin Phoenix again. Mel Gibson.
Yeah, Mel Gibson, specifically. And I also love that Mel Gibson always puts his faith, almost always, in a lot of the films that he's a part of.
Yeah.
It's usually plays some factor or role. And in that movie, I love the foreshadowing with his son's asthma being such a vital component of the ending of the film. Just the drama, the way it's played out,
Right.
the way that they deal with all of the beats of the drama in the film paired alongside the paranormal, and the way that the way that all of it works is just one of my favorite movies. And Joaquin Phoenix, again, amazing actor.
Yeah, Joaquin's great.
Such a good
great
actor.
in everything he's been in, for sure. Yeah, I didn't even think about M. Night, but maybe he'll go in like the honorable mention.
That's going to be on my list of 5 for sure. I guess I'll just let you take it from there. Who's your second?
Denis Villeneuve.
Okay, so this is where that overlap's going to happen because Denis Villeneuve is also...
So Tarantino, not one of yours?
I didn't initially think of that, no. But
okay.
he is up there. It's just I didn't think of it for whatever reason.
And I hope I'm saying his last name right. Some of these guys' names are hard. Denis Villeneuve or something like that.
Yeah, French director. The first time I heard of him actually was when Blade Runner 2049 came out. I had no idea who the guy was before that.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I was really on the fence because he was picking up the mantle from, again, a third favorite of mine, Ridley Scott, who was the architect and original director behind
we'll get
the
there.
cult classic that we actually have another video on. If you're interested in the original Blade Runner, not 2049, but the Harrison Ford movie from 1982, I believe it was. Was it 82 or 83?
82.
I believe it was 82.
I'm pretty sure it's 82.
Yeah, because we did 2 films back to back.
Yeah.
We did Rambo and we did
Rambo and
Blade Runner.
both 82.
Anyway, if you want to know more about that video, go watch that. It was really good. We have some really good content on that. But anyway, yeah. So he picked up the mantle from Ridley Scott. He did a great job with 2049.
Yeah, and for me, I'm looking at my phone because I'm looking up his filmography.
And I mean,
for me, like Blade Runner 2049, actually maybe one of his lesser films. Honestly,
really, you didn't like it nearly as much?
I liked it, but not as much as other stuff.
As compared to what then?
That's why I brought this.
There you go. Like the only other film that I can think of off the top of my head because it's the most recent is Dune, which was again a masterpiece of a film. There's some discrepancies as far as book material and things like that, but as an adaptation of a notoriously difficult book to put to screen just because of how dense Frank Herbert's novel was, he did leagues better than anyone else. And I grew up watching the David Lynch version of Dune, which is a difficult movie to watch unless you grew up with it. And David Lynch's movie was kind of the go-to for a lot of people for Dune. Now, I would never recommend that anybody go watch that movie with Denis Villeneuve's version of Dune, and I cannot wait for part 2 to come out.
Same.
There's just no contest in my mind.
Sorry,
he's a master of science fiction. And I'm very picky with the people that I sample their films with. I'm usually pretty standoffish with science fiction films.
Yeah. I haven't seen all of Denis' stuff, clearly.
He did Valerian too, didn't he?
No, that's Luc Besson.
Oh, okay. Different French director.
Luc Besson is actually French, and Denis is Canadian.
He's Canadian.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's from Quebec then, I would assume?
Yes,
okay.
I believe so.
French Canadian.
I could be wrong, but I believe so. Yeah, he's French Canadian.
Okay.
But yeah, Denis' films, like, he hasn't made a whole lot, but I think Sicario was the first of his that I saw.
That was a good one.
Which is great. Prisoner. Well, Prisoners, sorry.
I don't believe I saw that one.
With Prisoners is it Jackman? It's Jake Gyllenhaal, Terrence Howard, Paul Dano, and I think Jackman.
I haven't seen that one.
It can be a rough watch.
Sicario was good though.
Sicario was really good.
And
Arrival.
Okay, that was another one that I remember you could not say enough positive things about Arrival when it first came out. I watched it. I didn't understand it. I really didn't. I was so lost with that film. Like, I watched it from start to end.
That's fair.
I was like, I didn't get this film at all. And I had to have it explained to me afterwards. And still, I was like, really?
One of my favorite of his. And, of course, Blade Runner 2049.
Yep.
Dune, and then Dune Part 2, which will be coming out next year, I think.
Yeah.
Because they start principal photography sometime soon.
It's just nice finally to have back-to-back films. Again, we don't have to wait
And the other films that Denis has done is Enemy, Incendies, Polytechnic, Maelstrom, and his first one was August 32nd on Earth. I haven't seen his earlier stuff.
Me either.
I
feel like Maelstrom maybe, but
as soon as Prisoners onward, like, I've seen all of those, and they're all fantastic. And kind of my criteria for this list is, like, my favorite directors would be somebody that would go to the movie theater to see a film just because they're directing it. So
That's
Tarantino, I will go see a Tarantino film. I will go see a Denis Villeneuve film. Like, just because he's attached to it, I'll go watch it.
Right.
That's kind of my criteria that I use for a lot of it.
Oh man, I guess I'll.
So he
I'll
was
take
one of yours as well.
Yeah, Denis Villeneuve for sure. Although I'm a little bit more of a white bread fan, simply because I was more introduced to his stuff with 2049 and Dune.
Okay.
Which I wasn't real familiar with his earlier stuff, but I've recently
And again, not a whole lot. I think he has 11 director credits to his name at this point.
I've become a huge fan of his work since then. I remember loving 2049 when it came out, and I couldn't wait to see more of what he did because he was so faithful to what came before. He didn't try to put a spin on it or try to subvert expectations by reinventing some established trope or theme from it. He just said, okay, what is here? We're going to do it, and we're going to do it amazing. Which I guess there's a lot of people who don't hold that same philosophy, and that's why he's also one of my favorites. So I'll go from there.
Okay, go for it.
This one's kind of complicated.
All right. I have a few of those.
And the reason why is because if you're in the know to know, Spielberg and Lucas have a storied history of co-writing and doing films together.
Yes.
Spielberg is the director of the two of them, without a contest, for sure. George Lucas is a terrible director. But he is an amazing storyteller.
Adequate. He's an adequate director.
Yeah, that's fair. Better than I could do. But he is a master storyteller, while Spielberg is a case study in good directing.
Sure.
And has obviously spawned an entire generation of directors that try to emulate things that they put into motion. So that's why I was kind of prefacing that, is because Lucas and Spielberg kind of go together. So I would kind of talk about them together, really. So I'm kind of really kind of counting it as one.
Spielberg is on my list of, like, maybe it's not quite, like, I'm not rushing out to see a Spielberg film.
No.
One, because he's very prolific, and everything he makes, he's very good at making different types of films.
When I think of Spielberg, I'm thinking late 70s, 80s Spielberg. I'm thinking Indiana Jones.
But even modern Spielberg is good.
It can be. There's been some real stinkers though that he's made lately.
I mean, he had some misses in the 80s.
He
and
did
90s
too.
Like,
He tried to make a comedy film one time.
Like everything he's done has been gold.
No,
which is fine.
But he has there was like a time period where he couldn't fail. And the majority of those movies in that time period of kind of the 70s to the 80s are kind of what I'm thinking of. So like Jaws in 1976.
Okay.
Or was it 75 or 76? I can't remember.
I
know it came out right before Star Wars.
I believe it was 76.
Okay. So Jaws is
could be wrong.
Obviously a landmark film for a lot of reasons, even though it's arguably a little bit of a scam, how simple it was and how the film got away with things that it shouldn't have gotten away with, but because it was done in such a different way, and because Spielberg is just good at directing, he pulled off an incredibly cheap movie, and it made a lot of money. It kind of set the trend for like blockbusters moving forward from that. And then you had Star Wars in 1977, back in the Return of the Jedi, and then when did E.T. come out? Because that's a Spielberg film.
That would have been 80s, early mid 80s.
Yeah, so there was just a long catalog of those, but I mean Spielberg's films. When I think of that, I'm thinking the original Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, which was written by both of them, but directed by Spielberg.
Yeah, so written by Spielberg and Lucas.
Yes. And then you have E.T., Encounters of the Third Kind. It's probably one of my favorite.
No, I don't know that I've ever seen that movie all the way through.
Really?
I think I tried to watch it when I was as like a very young child, like 6 or 7.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
I don't think I finished it because I was a kid, and I think it probably scared me for some reason.
Richard.
But I've never gone back to visit it.
Is it Dreyfuss or Dreyfuss? Richard
I've always said
Dreyfuss?
Dreyfuss.
I think that's how it's pronounced. He's great in that film. He was great in Jaws. But Jaws, E.T., the original, my goodness, Indiana Jones, and then Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
John Williams scores, George Lucas and Steven Spielberg coming together to make amazing stories.
That's how you make money.
That's how you make money.
It really is.
Take note of that, Kathleen Kennedy. Start doing things different. Anyway, that's number 3 for me.
Yeah, I'm not as high on Spielberg as you are, just because looking at his whole body of work, like, it's good. Like, there's certainly stuff in there that I like. It's just, I don't know. I'm not going to rush out to see a Spielberg. That's why he's on my list of like honorable mentions, if you will.
Well, and he just recently...
I enjoy a lot of his stuff.
Yeah.
But there's some stuff that's just kind of, he's hit and miss just because it's not my speed. Not
no.
me.
And I think he did the B movie, which was not very...
I haven't seen the new West Side Story yet, but I've heard good things.
I've heard the opposite.
Really?
I heard it was a stinker. I heard it did terrible in the box office.
Well, I heard it was like a good film.
Oh, well,
Not that people went to see it.
Yeah, I just heard that it got panned for being a little bit woke, but I don't know much about it, so I can't really make an opinion about that. I just know it didn't do amazing in the box office. I think it just released at a poor time and maybe got eclipsed by something else.
And you guys how well do musicals normally do?
They had their time. And it's
like they still do
gone.
musicals. Musicals can still be good, but like it's not what.
If it's not a Disney musical, I don't think it makes money.
A lot of the time, yeah, sure.
At least modern musicals, anyway. Like we don't have Frank Sinatra and my wife is such a fan of these old movies, but just that classic era of Hollywood where they were making Fred Astaire and Donald. I can't remember his last name. It was Singing in the Rain. I can't remember his name, but
no, that's I'm not gonna be able to think of it.
Danny Kaye. I think Danny Kaye was in that one too. But anyway, that era of Hollywood's long gone. And so I don't really know. I can't really speak to musicals. My wife enjoys them, but we typically watch the really old ones from the 60s and 50s.
Yeah, there's a few of the older ones that I like, and there's a few newer-ish ones from post 2000s that I've enjoyed as well.
I think
like
The Greatest Showman was a modern musical that was decent. I really enjoyed that one. Hugh Jackman's actually good actor outside of playing Wolverine. Go figure.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, well, most people that know anything about Hugh Jackman,
exactly,
because he was a classical actor before he took that role. He's good. He's just good.
Tons of theater and stuff. Yeah, Jackman's
Reminiscence was a good film too that he was in.
I haven't seen it.
It was good. Kind of flew under the radar a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it had a theatrical release. Well, it was the last couple of years. It was like every movie that should have gotten more press. It just either, if it wasn't Spider-Man or the latest Disney movie or something, Marvel, people just didn't go out to see it. And I think it was kind of sucks, honestly, because Reminiscence was good. Wasn't like a shocking movie or anything, but it was good.
My next.
So we're on number 4 now?
Spielberg. So we're on 4?
I think we're on 4.
Okay. And I'm kind of past, I'm kind of past, there's only 2 for me, directors that I will go out of my way to see a new movie in theaters just because it's them. But all of these that we're getting into, we talked about this before we started rolling, it's like there's a lot where it's just like, you look up the director of a film, you go to their filmography, and it just so happens that everything of theirs that they've made that you've seen, you love.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of those.
Without knowing.
So, my next one... Okay, I lied. I have one more that is out the door. We'll probably see theirs in theaters. Maybe. It's tough. Christopher Nolan.
Okay, that's fair.
It's tough for me because he made perhaps my favorite movie of all time, Dark Knight. And I have enjoyed everything of his that I have seen. I haven't seen all of his stuff. Some of his earlier stuff I still haven't seen, but I don't know if I'll rush out to see the latest Nolan film because you can generally tell by the trailer how weird he's going to get.
Yeah, that's fair.
And most of his films make enough sense where it's like, okay, you had an idea and somebody was there to rein you in and make things a little more plausible.
I think Tenet being probably the most prolific on that
Tenet
list
is a bad movie.
I didn't like it.
It does not make sense.
And
not saying I don't understand it. I'm saying the film physically does not make sense. It's a really cool idea with very bad execution.
I saw it 3 times to make sure that... Because everyone, when they see a time travel movie, is like, oh, I get it and you don't. So I had that same reaction, but I went back to see it 2 more times. I wish I could get that 2.5, almost 3 hours. I wish I could get it back because my first initial thought of the movie was that Robert Pattinson does a good job, and it was the first thing I'd seen him in outside of having to watch.
The acting is all good.
It's good, yeah, and Robert Pattinson does a good job. But the pacing and the story of Tenet was way more complicated than it needed to be because Nolan wanted to flex on everybody.
To the point where, like, it does not make sense.
Yeah, it broke its own continuity. And if you pay attention long enough, you're like, there's no way this could have worked. But which I can hear you already. It's time travel. It already doesn't make sense. That's true, but there's a way to do it where it's believable. And Tenet isn't believable.
And one of my problems that I have with Tenet, not to harp just on this movie, but we're talking about it. You're right. Time travel doesn't have to make sense. Like, no. It's not a real thing that exists.
It's more a MacGuffin than anything, honestly, if it's done right.
But here's the problem with Tenet, is Tenet spends 35 minutes trying to explain to you how it makes sense.
Right.
And then at the end of that says, don't try and understand it, just go with it. The movie is 30 minutes longer because they were trying to explain to the protagonist, but the audience, how all this works, just to come to the conclusion that it doesn't make sense. Don't try to understand.
Yeah, it's mansplaining.
And then it breaks
for an
all
audience.
of its own rules, and nothing that happens makes sense.
It's
a really cool idea. You just spent too much time explaining it, where you drew attention to all the things that don't make sense, and then you can't enjoy the film.
If you're a director and you're watching this, which is highly unlikely, but if you are, stop trying to tell the audience how everything works. Just make a movie. Let us decide if we understand it or not. Just focus on making a decent narrative and get the right actors.
You can explain some things. You can explain
but you don't need to talk to us like we're children. And I personally get really annoyed when movies are like, see, this is the reason why this makes sense, and we have A and B and C reasons why you should think that this is either the way that it should be or makes sense. Why don't you let me come up with that?
Sure.
And if your story is good enough, and if the drama is there, if the emotion is there,
then you will be able to lead us to those conclusions.
There you go. That's my harp on that for the minute. Okay,
so that's why Christopher Nolan is.
All right, Christopher Nolan.
I've enjoyed so much of what he's done. He's made probably my favorite movie ever. It's just he had way too much control on this movie and did exactly what he wanted to do. It just wasn't great. It wasn't even good. It was bad storytelling. Just plain and simple bad storytelling.
Yeah.
But that being said, I will probably go watch whatever he makes next because it's like you can make one bad movie. Like he had an idea, he went for it, it didn't work.
Nobody's perfect, people. Okay, number 4 for me. This one, again, a lot of my directors are going to be either no longer working or are going to be rather old. It's just simply because...
Most of mine are still working.
Okay. I watched a lot of really old films growing up. That was kind of just my bread and butter. I've always been kind of an old soul, and I just enjoy older films in general. That being said, Robert, is it Zemeckis or is it
Zemeckis?
Zemeckis. With Forrest Gump and the original...
He's one of mine.
Yeah, and the original Back to the Future trilogy are gold, in my opinion. And they weren't. Or I should say, Back to the Future could have been awful if Michael J. Fox had not been cast in the leading role of Marty McFly. They originally had a different actor altogether, whose name escapes me at the moment, but he was a prolific 80s up-and-coming actor, and it tested terribly with studio execs. And they recast Michael J. Fox in the role, and magic happened because Christopher Lloyd and Michael J. Fox are just... They have such good chemistry on set, and the films are just amazing. And as far as time travel movies goes, those ones are probably the most straightforward and simple to understand movies that don't rely on time travel to tell the story. The time travel is merely a MacGuffin to get you to the narrative, which is the right way to do it, so that you're not focusing on the time travel, you're focusing on the events taking place within the time travel. And it's more anecdotal to the story rather than a main element of. And we're getting a DeLorean 2.0 because we need more electric cars, apparently. And the only reason that car made any of the sales that it did, arguably, is because of Back to the Future.
Yeah, that's fair. Very fair.
Garbage car.
Yeah.
Great set piece.
Zemeckis was definitely one of mine, too, where it's like, just a name that came to mind. It's like, I wonder how much of his stuff I've seen that I actually really enjoy. And... I'm going to read off some of the movies he's made, just in case you don't know. Flight, A Christmas Carol, Beowulf, The Polar Express, Castaway, Contact, Forrest Gump, Death Becomes Her, Back to the Future, Parts 1, 2, and 3, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Romancing the Stone.
There you go. I mean, that's like a catalog of some of the movies I grew up with right there.
Yeah,
and they're all
those
great.
are all fantastic films. I enjoy all of them.
Personally, Forrest Gump is the pinnacle of Robert Zemeckis, in my opinion. Between Tom Hanks as Forrest Gump and what's his name? Lieutenant Dan. I can't remember his name.
Gary Sinise.
Thank you. Just, oh man, magic on set. The believability of that film, the relatability, the emotion, just everything about Forrest Gump is such a good movie. Such good movies. If you haven't seen it, you should absolutely go watch it.
Yeah.
It is
At this
just
point, how have you not? But if you haven't,
it's
go
a
watch Forrest
commentary
Gump.
on American
It's
history
It's
from
a really good film.
the 50s through to the 90s, and it's just, shoot, what a great movie.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of heart to it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I cry every time I watch that movie.
Same.
It's just
Same.
so good.
Multiple places.
That's number 4 for me, is Robert Zemeckis.
Okay. Next, which one do I go with first? I'll do the one I actually thought of my own first. Mel Gibson.
Yeah, that's a good one, actually.
Where, like, you don't think of him as a director. I mean, he is, obviously. But, like, that's not the first thing that comes to mind. But it's like, no. Like, every movie he's ever directed is fantastic. Because he's only done, like, 4.
The first thing that comes to mind when I think of Mel Gibson is Lethal Weapon. That's the first thing that comes to mind. Because I think that's my the movie I turn to for just pure enjoyment factor when I'm just...
Sure.
Want to just watch something to be entertained and have fun. I love the Lethal Weapon movies. But Braveheart, The Passion of the Christ, just...
Yeah.
Man.
I will bring up those...
I can't remember. I'm trying to think of the other ones that I know that he's directed, but I can't.
Apocalypto.
Okay, that's actually one I've always meant to watch, but I never have.
Oh, it's wonderful. So he has 9 director credits. Some of these have not come out. Hacksaw Ridge.
That was
Fantastic.
really
Apocalyptico's a metal band. Passion of the Christ, Braveheart, and The Man Without a Face. Then he's done some TV work.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I enjoy all of The Man Without a Face I have not seen.
I hadn't even heard of that one before,
but
actually.
Braveheart, Passion of the Christ, Apocalypto, Hacksaw Ridge, and he's making Lethal Weapon 5.
He's making a 5th
He's
Lethal
directing.
Weapon? Oh, good lord. Do we need a 5th Lethal Weapon?
According to
Killed
IMDb.
Jet Li in number 4. Like, what's going to happen in this movie? Beat somebody to death with a wheelchair? Like, oh, man.
Well, he's directing it. I don't know if he's going to be in it.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point.
But, yeah, one I didn't, like, took me a second to get there, but it's like, yeah, like, for his few films, like, real theatrical films he's made, they're all just really good. He's a really good director.
He is as amazing a director as he is an actor, for sure.
All right, what's your next one?
Number 5. I'm going to have to go with Tim Burton.
Okay, take it away.
Tim Burton, for sure. I enjoy the vast majority of the movies that he's made, specifically with Mr. Depp. I'm going to try to avoid saying names because YouTube likes to derank things because they have an unpopular opinion of the recent trial. But Mr. Depp's work with Tim Burton are historic. I mean,
that is fair. That is
with
fair.
Sleepy Hollow and Edward Scissorhands being the first 2 that come to mind.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have The Nightmare Before Christmas with music by Danny Elfman, who is one of my favorite composers, and is also the voice of Jack Skellington. Yeah. Fact check me on that. But I'm
questioning whether that's a Burton film.
It's Tim Burton's story. I don't know if it's directed by him, but I know
don't
that
think
as
sure
a
it's
writer,
not.
It's Tim Burton's A Nightmare Before Christmas.
But I think that's the weird one that is
It might
right,
be. That
but it's
might
not
be
directed by him.
That might be
Quibbles.
But Sleepy Hollow and Edward Scissorhands and the original 2 Batman films with Michael Keaton as Batman and Jack Nicholson and Danny DeVito and Michelle Pfeiffer. Okay,
Henry Selick was the director.
So I was wrong on that one. But the original 2 Batman films, Edward Scissorhands and Sleepy Hollow, And I know that there's other movies that he's done that I've seen. I just can't remember off the top of my head. But I love Tim Burton's directing and his aesthetic. I will go out of my way to go to a theater to watch a Tim Burton film if I know that Tim Burton is directing it. Like The Corpse Bride, I think that might also be a Tim Burton story. Might not be directed by him, but I know that he's the one behind it.
Let's see. I think that was actually directed by him.
The other one is it Deadly Shadows? With
Dark Shadows?
Dark Shadows? Is that it?
Depp?
That's a Depp movie as well.
Yeah,
comedy.
Dark Shadows.
Also, it's just everything about Tim Burton's movies have Tim Burton written all over them.
Dark Shadows, Alice in Wonderland, Sweeney Todd, The Demon Barber, Fleet Street,
Frankenweenie,
Corpse Bride, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Big Fish, and his Planet of the Apes, which we don't need to talk about. Sleepy Hollow, Mars Attacks, which can be fun.
Big Fish,
Edward Scissorhands, Batman Returns, Batman, Beetlejuice.
If you want to watch a Ewan McGregor movie that most people are not as familiar with,
Big Fish is good.
It's good.
Big Fish is good.
Really good. It's in the same vein as Benjamin Button, where it's a kind of a reverse narrative.
Okay.
And it's good. I would love to do an episode just talking about Big Fish at some point. Again, Danny DeVito, Ewan McGregor. I think Michelle Pfeiffer is in that one too. Or no, it's not Michelle Pfeiffer. It's actually Tim Burton's wife. I can't remember her name. She plays Bellatrix Lestrange in Harry Potter.
Carter.
Thank you. She's in that one. So is my goodness. I can't believe I forgot his name. He's in a lot of.
What else has he been in?
He's almost in exclusively like just random movies.
That's not helpful.
With I'm trying to think of his name. Oh my gosh, how am I forgetting this?
What else?
Adam Sandler. And he's got Dave Buscemi.
Okay. Yeah. Steve Buscemi.
Steve Buscemi. Thank you. I don't know why I say
Buscemi.
Dave. Former firefighter, actually, for New York, I believe. Turned actor.
Don't know.
Great actor. Super funny. And he's in Big Fish as well. Man, I don't want to talk about Big Fish all day, but that's a good movie.
I haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah, Tim Burton. Number 4 for me.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in a long time.
That's actually number 5. That's 5 for me.
All right. Well, I have 2 left. I had a long list.
Okay.
David Fincher.
Okay.
We talked. I mentioned
yeah.
this right before we started filming. Yeah. All of everything. Again, one of those where everything of his that I have seen, I enjoy. I enjoy very much.
Me as well, apparently, and I didn't even know that they were.
I was reading him listed like all the movies he's done. It's like I've seen all of those. I like all of those exactly. It's like it's very odd, but I mean the standout ones, of course, being Seven, Fight Club, The Social Network, Zodiac, Benjamin Button, which I haven't seen. We might be talking about doing a whole episode on that shortly. And then he did The Game. And interesting to find out when I was looking through his filmography, it's like he did like music videos in the 80s. It's like from 84 to 91, he just like directed tons of music videos like for a whole bunch of people. And then his first big movie was, I think in 91, Alien 3.
Which
was 91, right?
I believe it was 91.
Yeah.
Not the best
like
of the Alien movies.
His first film, his first feature film he got to direct.
I think he might have been handed, though, just a story on what to do. I don't think he necessarily changed. I am totally riffing it here. Fact check us below if we are wrong.
We do not know.
But the majority of his stuff is always very well written, whereas Alien 3 was just kind of a weird movie.
Yeah, because he goes from Alien 3 to, I think 7 is next.
And 7 is a psychological thriller with Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt.
And Gwyneth Paltrow.
What a shift from Alien 3 to that. Yeah. It's almost unrecognizable. If I had not been told it was the same director, I would not have known.
Yeah, you wouldn't think just looking at those two. But once you get into like the rest of his work, it makes a little bit more sense when you start looking at everything else that he's done. I'm pulling up his filmography just so I can read through some of it. That's not what I wanted. Just don't do it. Just do what I want you to do, not what I tell you to do.
It's technology.
Yeah, dude has like 95 director credits, and like 10 of those are films.
Yeah.
His latest movie that he did was Mank 2 years ago, which I haven't seen yet.
I haven't either.
But I'm interested to go see it. He, of course, did Gone Girl, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
That was actually I've seen that one. That was good.
It's not bad.
I enjoyed it.
There's two different versions of that movie because Girl
I
with the
may have
Dragon
only seen
Tattoo
one.
is Fincher's remake of the original film. It's based on a series of books by I forget the name of the author or what country he's from. He's from Europe.
I saw the one with Daniel
which
Craig.
one. Yeah, that's the U.S. version. But
Okay.
there's original 3 or 4 films that were made.
Okay.
And those, like, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Fincher can get kind of brutal in places.
Yeah.
Nothing compared to the original film.
Okay.
Like, it's way worse. It's way worse. And in some ways, a little bit better because of it. Like, I don't know which one I prefer because they're both good. But anyway, moving on from that, he, of course, then did, well, before that, did The Social Network, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, Zodiac, Panic Room, Fight Club, The Game, Seven, and Alien 3, and then tons of music videos and some short stuff. But yeah, that was one for me where it's like, yeah, all of his that I've seen is just like, it's good, and I'm gonna watch Curious Case of Benjamin Button and Mank soon, just so because like if he made it, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna like it because I've seen all of his other stuff.
Yeah.
So it's an easy one for me.
And I have a couple of honorable mentions
Go
that
for
just
it.
I don't know why I didn't really think too much about why they wouldn't make the list. I guess it's just picked 5 and then I have like additional ones at the bottom.
Sure.
James Cameron, for sure. I you know, the majority of the films that James Cameron's made, you either have heard of them, seen them, grew up with them, but everybody has some exposure to James Cameron,
Yes.
whether or not you know it or not.
Absolutely.
Between Titanic and Avatar in 2000, what was it, 2009, 2008?
And Terminator.
And, I mean, yeah, the first 2 Terminators, yeah, he did 1 and 2, I believe. They were both James Cameron. And then
That
Alien
I do
2,
not know. I don't know if that's correct.
I want to say the first 2. I don't think he did 3, but he did Alien 2. Coming
We will
off of
look
Ridley
it up
Scott.
just to make sure.
Terminator 1
Don't
for
wanna
sure,
get
at
this
least. But
wrong.
Stop Go animation's a little rough, but it was also like 81, and it was made with a super low budget. And James Cameron was coming off of, he was just getting into filmmaking with larger budgets. I mean, he made a lot of more like direct-to-TV kind of Galaxy of Fear, if you're familiar with that film. Really, really weird movie. Don't watch it. It's terrible. The special effects are good, and that's where James Cameron really excels at because he's a self-taught filmmaker. If you don't know anything about James Cameron, there's a great
You're right.
Spotify series that is a kind of an audio drama series that goes through the greatest directors of all time. It's very subjective, but it goes through the filmography and story of how Spielberg, Lucas, and Cameron really made an entire decade of films that we will probably be arguing over for the next 50 years. I mean, we already have with Star Wars. I mean, it sold for what was it?
I don't
$8
remember.
billion or some absurd amount of money
I don't remember.
for a film that was made with props that were literally rented and then recycled by the original prop by whoever it is that they got them from. They broke down every set. Mark Hamill stole the Levi's that he wore in the movie, and they didn't find Obi-Wan's like Jedi cloak, which was a monk costume that was found in like a cardboard box in like Pinewood Studios 40 years later. This like Star Wars was made on such a low budget, and then it sold for like a premium tier. But commentary on George Lucas aside, James Cameron's body of work is just legendary. Whether or not you like it, James Cameron's movies are always moneymakers. Always moneymakers.
I don't know. I mean, Piranha 2: The Spawning. I don't think that was.
I forgot he worked on that one. Actually, that was one of the movies I do remember when I was looking into this.
That was his first
He
movie, by the
got that one. He got asked to do that one coming off of working for a props department for, I can't remember. It's the same people who did Galaxy of Fear, and he helped do a lot of the directing for that. But he had worked as a prop manager before that. The guy's a workaholic. He is a case study in self-made, just businessmen. Anyway, Yeah, Piranha 2. Not exactly something that I was going to point out,
It
mostly
was his
because I can't
first-
even remember.
Yeah, it was his first full length film. He did a short before that. It was
Yeah.
Genesis.
But that's kind of honorable mention there. My second and last honorable
Mm-hmm.
mention is... I want to say Ramirez, but I don't believe it is. There's George Ramirez, which is the author of horror films.
You mean George A. Romero?
George A. Romero, thank you, not Ramirez. I don't know why I would screw that up. But Romero, yeah, not Romero.
I believe that's right.
Evil Dead.
Right? George A. Romero?
Yes, I believe that's it. Evil Dead director.
No.
No,
Well-
I'm asking. I can't remember his name. It just left me.
Oh, who is the Evil Dead
Yes.
director? Oh, Sam Raimi.
Sam Raimi.
Okay, so
Is
both
my-
of those,
yes.
Romero and Raimi.
Yeah. Those are the honorable mentions that I
Because
have.
Romero
left there.
was the original Living Dead.
Yes, he's the guy that spawned the generation of zombie films and kind of introduced us to that modern horror genre, and he's been homaged in so many different things, including, I think, Call of Duty at one point. But, no, the Evil Dead movies are fantastic.
Yeah.
They're good. I like them. I don't care what anybody
I
says.
won't rush out to see anything.
And Bruce
everything
Campbell-
Sam Raimi does, but
The first three Spider-Man movies, third one not so much, first two, and then with Doctor Strange, like it or love it, Sam Raimi did a good job with the directing of a very interesting film. If you want to know more about Doctor Strange, you can either watch our video or go watch Geeks and Gamers or Nerdrotic. They'll give you a really good breakdown of that film in general. But
Yeah.
Sam Raimi does a good job when he directs films. When he's given carte blanche to do what he does best, his films are good.
okay.
That's pretty much all I had to say about that. Just honorable mentions. Just thought I'd throw that in there.
Yeah, I got one more
All right.
that I kind of have to mention because there's a lot of his stuff that I like. Haven't seen it all. I won't rush out to see his latest film because he's dead. Not to bring the mood down.
That's morbid. The bro's dead.
Stanley Kubrick.
Okay.
Yeah, don't enjoy all of his films. Haven't seen all of his films, but
2001
worth
Space
mentioning.
Odyssey. Why?
I remember when you told me you watched it, and that was his response. Like, I don't get it. Like, what?
What even is?
What is? Why?
And we agreed, like, there's like 20 minutes of that film that makes sense where he's battling
Yeah.
Hal the computer, who's
There
I
is
think voiced by John Wayne.
HAL 9000.
HAL 9000, yeah. And that's the only part of the film that makes any sense. The rest of it's this weird, like, nature study slash...
It was weird.
yeah,
Like-
it feels more like it belongs in a Carl Sagan expose on the human race than it does as a film. It's just
Which
weird.
maybe that's what he was going for.
It's an acid trip of a movie.
It is weird. Constantly considered one of his best, I think.
And that's what I thought. I was like, I am not feeling good today. I'm gonna watch a good movie. I'm gonna feel good about this. And afterwards, I was like, that sucked.
You don't feel good
I was
watching 2001: A Space
It's
Odyssey.
like, that was terrible.
At best, you feel confused and maybe a little anxious.
Uncomfortable and anxious. And that's pretty much what I felt after
But like
watching that.
The Shining,
Okay, that's fair. That's a good one.
A Clockwork Orange.
I think actually though it's worth mentioning The Shining as cult classic of a movie as it is, and Jack Nicholson does an amazing job of portraying an absolutely crazed person in that film. It is one of
Yeah, it's one of King's least favorite adaptations of his work.
he hates it. He's always hated that. Always. Just thought I would bring that up.
Yeah.
'Cause I've
And-
read some of King's books. They're not anything to write home about. I don't know why people love his books, but
My grandmother had everything Stephen King had ever written.
Really?
And the adaptations of all of his work, too.
I tried reading the
Everything
Dark Tower
everything he'd
series.
done.
It's just the guy has like a thing for like sexual overtones and constant swearing in his books. Like it's kind of over the top a little bit.
I've
And the
never read any
stories
of his work, so I don't know.
I don't know.
But the adaptations of some of his stuff is good.
Yeah.
Not all, some.
What was the one that Ewan McGregor was in just recently? That was Doctor.
Well, Dr. Sleep.
Yeah,
Which is the sequel to
to The Shining,
The Shining, yeah.
It was
Because he
good?
plays grown-up Danny.
and it was good. Good movie.
But yeah, Kubrick's films, again, I haven't seen Barry Lyndon. Barry Lyndon is supposed to be very good, more of a what's the right word? more of a film lover's film, perhaps, just in the way that he shot it.
And I don't know
haven't
anything
seen
about
it, so I don't know for certain. But yeah, and of course the movie that he never got to make, which AI, Artificial Intelligence, by Steven Spielberg.
Oh, okay.
Was written by Stanley Kubrick. It was supposed to be directed by him, but he died before he could make it. So Spielberg did it.
I can't remember. Was Taxi Driver a Kubrick film? No, that's.
I don't remember who did.
I always
Taxi Driver.
I always get him confused with this other guy, but I can't remember his name either.
Taxi Driver, isn't Taxi Driver like
Martin Scorsese?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
I just get those two guys confused. They're in the same kind of era of filmmaking.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think of other stuff. Oh, Spartacus.
The Kirk Douglas Spartacus?
Kubrick's first film in '66.
I did not know that, and that's a good one. And I haven't seen it, and I like.
I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but I'm not going to look it up because I'm actually kind of confident. If I'm wrong, let me know. But yeah, fairly confident. The original Spartacus, 1966, with Kirk Douglas was Kubrick's first feature film.
Yeah, that's an old one for sure. We'll have to do an episode talking about our favorite vintage film catalogs. Like if we were only allowed to preserve 10 movies from that'd be worth talking about. Yeah, for sure. Let us know if you'd like to see that.
That would be fun.
But that would be fun. That'd be fun to do.
But that's the last one I have on my list, just because it's hard to have. He is one of my favorites. I do enjoy a lot of what he does, but not everything.
No. Yeah, and personally, I don't care that much.
But he's certainly a recognizable name that I don't know for.
And obviously,
it's considered one of the at least one of the best of all time. Perhaps.
Yeah, there's names like Hitchcock and things like that. Why didn't you mention?
And I didn't.
Personally, I haven't seen many of Hitchcock's films.
Same.
I just haven't.
Same. I'm not a big horror guy in general. And Hitchcock is something I've never gone back to specifically visit things that he had done. So that's why he's not even a mention on here, because I've seen so few of his films that I can't speak on it at all.
Yeah, and then there's C.C. DeMille. Also,
I thought about guys like Oliver Stone and Brian De Palma, and Martin Scorsese. Martin Scorsese probably should have been on my list.
There's a reason why they talk about him and Kubrick's films in college courses on filming.
Yeah, why didn't we bring up Scorsese?
I don't know.
Did maybe we both just blank on it and then only noticing it now?
I think so, yeah, probably. I mean, Apocalypse Now and Taxi Driver. Yeah.
And Goodfellas.
Shoot, that.
And Casino.
And Ray Liotta just passed away too from Goodfellas. Yeah, he was 68, I believe.
Yeah.
That is a benchmark gangster film.
Yeah.
I love Goodfellas.
And King of Comedy. And
that one I never saw. King of Comedy, actually, just as a side note, there are some people that think that King of Comedy was actually a spiritual prequel to the Joker. That people think that there is references to the Joker with Joaquin Phoenix, and the King of Comedy in some ways is an influence of that. Maybe not directly, but it's a cool theory.
The Joker, Joaquin Phoenix.
Yes.
Is I wouldn't consider Joker a spiritual successor so
But you
much.
know what I'm talking about? In spirit, it carries over
the influence
interesting
is there
tie-ins.
because the Joker is just the King of Comedy and Taxi Driver put together.
Right.
That's what the Joker it was, I think, produced by Scorsese at some point.
I'm not sure.
He worked on the film in some capacity.
Who directed the Joker?
Somebody Phillips, right?
That sounds right. That sounds right.
I forget his first name, but I'm pretty sure it's Mr. Phillips.
Todd Phillips?
Yeah, Todd Phillips.
That's it. Good movie. Really good movie.
No, Martin Scorsese should be on my list of favorite directors because
I should have been on
I've seen
both
anything of his that I haven't enjoyed in some capacity. I haven't seen the one he did 2 years ago.
What did he do? Oh, that one that went straight to Netflix.
Yeah,
it was
big Netflix movie.
The Irishman.
Irishman, yeah. I
That
haven't
was
seen
good.
The Irishman. I heard it was
really
good. Oh, and what's Gangs of New York?
Gangs of New York. That one was...
That's Scorsese.
Yeah, but...
That's DiCaprio and Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah, that was a good one. I was a little...
that was so good.
I was a little confused with that movie. I didn't quite understand what the point of it was, but it felt like they were trying to make a homage to something else.
Yeah,
I don't
It's
know what.
Interesting
though.
discussion that I'm sure we'll have, as I hope we have at some point, is whether movies have to have a point.
Oh, that's a good. That would be a really good discussion.
Because there's a lot of different ways you can go. There's good examples.
Right. I guess
all
it would
over
depend. Yeah.
for a lot of different
Shoot.
takes on that.
All right, cool.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, we're gonna table
sure.
that one for sure.
But yeah, I think that
does it for me anyway. Like that was my
are there any
7.
other big names that we're missing?
It's like my 5
Martin
plus 2.
Scorsese. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So 5 plus 3 really.
And I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9. I had 9.
So
not quite 5.
that pretty much does it for me in terms of directors. If you guys think we missed a director that didn't make our list for whatever reason, let us know below. And if you liked this video, please leave a like. If you didn't like the video, thank you for watching anyway. We still very much appreciate your viewership. Share this video with your friends and family. That is how we're going to get noticed, and we really appreciate you sticking around for the entirety of this. Smash that like button and hit the subscribe button. We'll see you on the next one.
And if you are listening to us on Spotify, you can follow us and leave us a rating. That would help a lot too. So we'll see you later.